you ever feel like stress, anxiety, depression, or even addiction is holding you back from the things that you really want in life? Well, if that's you, you're definitely not alone. About 10 years ago, I dropped out of grad school, not because I wasn't smart enough or I didn't care, even though there were definitely parts of me that thought that at the time, but it was because of those things that I just mentioned. They were really overwhelming me, and they caused me to have to give up for a while. And in this video, I want to talk to you about the main thing that made me come back to myself, essentially, made me heal my depression, anxiety, maybe free from addiction. And now I'm back in grad school, getting top grades as well, and doing work that I really, really love and feeling confident in myself as I do that work. And the reason is, of course, things like inner work and therapy and getting the medical support that many of us need. But the number one thing is exercise, having a regular training practice. And in this video, I'm going to share with you the very basic reasons why this might be the kind of medication for everyone. And I'm going to just say, I'm not a healthcare professional, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not here to give you medical advice, but I am here to share what one of the things that is free, that is easy to do for anyone, can be one of the most transformational things that you can do for yourself in your life, and that is exercise. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand the main reasons why exercise is so important for your mental health, your brain, and your body, but I'll also give you some very simple strategies that will get you to start and hopefully continue doing it as part of your plan for better well-being and better mental health. So when I talk about exercise, I'm not just talking about, the getting stronger, losing weight, although those can be great for people who have goals around those things. I know I have, but the thing that I really want to land here with you is how important exercise is for your brain and what's happening from a neuroscience perspective, so that we have an understanding from that perspective that allows us to understand why and have more reasons why we do it. That's not necessarily tied to performance. That's not tied to any type of aesthetic, kind of more cosmetic reason for why we might exercise, even though those things are okay too. The number one reason is that exercise literally rewires your brain. It changes your brain chemistry. When you exercise, when you do strength training, or you go for a run, or you go for a very brisk walk where you're getting your breath up, you're not just improving your strength and your cardiovascular health, but you're also increasing and boosting and regulating really important neurotransmitters in your brain. Like, for example, serotonin, which is really important for more depressive emotions. And we have dopamine as well, which is really important for you to feel motivated and for you to feel like you want to go after your goals, which can be those things can be easy to kind of fall away when we're in a low mood or when we're really anxious. And that can also be an important factor when it comes to addiction, because our reward center of our brain, which steers dopamine, will be impacted, where we're kind of going for these quick rewards rather than learning and understanding the reward of doing something challenging and then receiving that reward after we do the challenge. Not only that, we also have an increase in norepinephrine, which helps with sharpness of our mind and focus. Okay. Hi. Okay.
Exercise.
Lastly, I want to talk about BDNF, which is brain-derived neurotropic factor, which many will state is kind of like miracle grow for your brain. It creates new neurons, it strengthens the connections between old and existing neurons, and basically allows you to learn things much quicker, improves your memory, the list goes on. So all of these are really important for neuroplasticity. And neuroplasticity is so important for learning, for our ability to see the world in different ways, to be able to see ourselves in different ways and see life in a different way than what we might habitually have been thinking about it as. I know when I was not feeling the best with struggling with depression, I saw things as quite dark, and I didn't believe in myself. I thought I wasn't, the best person ever. I had quite low self-esteem, I guess you can say, and had the very typical thoughts of I'm not good enough, I can't do this is impossible for me, no one loves me even, or I'm never gonna find love, or it's too hard, everything's hopeless. These kinds of deeper belief systems that were really ingrained in me. When I exercised a lot, or a lot more than I used to, it was easier for me to both elevate my mood on a chemical level, but then also be able to see things from different perspectives, be like, okay, maybe I don't have to actually believe that thought. Maybe I can notice that thought and then pick another one, or see it from a different perspective. Maybe it's not as bad as I think it is, my situation. Maybe I can think of it from a different perspective, and therefore my whole reality shifts around that. So what happens when we increase and regulate these neurotransmitters in our brain, we're both able to elevate our mood on a more chemical level, but then also it increases, like I said, our neuroplasticity, which allows us to learn new ways of thinking and being in relationship with ourselves and our own minds. So this means after every workout, you're not just feeling better, you're literally upgrading your brain's hardware to handle life better through changing the chemistry of your brain. This brings me to number 2. So we've talked about kind of more the chemical level of what goes on when we increase our serotonin and regulate our dopamine levels, and like I said, these important hormones that help us with mood elevation and feeling better, feeling more balanced, feeling more grounded. We're now going to talk about the executive functions of our brain. And executive functions of our brain is, if we think about how in our brain we have different levels. We have our more developed part of our brain, which is more of our prefrontal cortex, our neocortex we'll call it, which is able to kind of think from perspective, be able to think more logically and rationally, is able to plan, is able to focus our attention and decide where we focus our attention. That's the most developed part of our brain. And that's the one that we want to be in charge most of the time, because that's the one that's able to make different decisions and make more rational decisions. While below that level, we have more of our limbic system and our amygdala, which is both our emotional center and it's also our threat detection center. And it's very much connected to our nervous system. So when we have a amygdala that's kind of overactive, which can often be the case when it comes to anxiety, where our brains are constantly kind of looking for threat and reacting to threat, that can also dictate our how we're feeling emotionally, right? And the more that place of our brain is in control, the more we're kind of thrown around with the wind by fear and by our emotions. The more we are able to step out of that place and into our prefrontal cortex and practice our ability to both be mindful of how we're feeling, what we're thinking, our ability to plan, our ability to do hard things, even though we don't want to do them, but we know they're good for us and our health, the more that part of our brain becomes strengthened. The less the amygdala or the limbic system part of our brain is in the driver's seat. And from my own experience with this, I had a long time where I actually wasn't very in contact with my feelings. I didn't really know what I was feeling. And exercise definitely helped with regulating my nervous system, because I had a very dysregulated nervous system, while at the same time not really knowing what I was feeling. And that was because there was a lot of emotional content in my brain and body that hadn't been processed. And through getting to know my emotions by using my prefrontal cortex, the CEO leader of part of my brain, to notice what was going on in my body and being aware of, okay, I'm feeling some tension in my chest right now. I'm feeling some tension in my belly right now. I'm feeling some anger, and that anger I can feel kind of in my shoulders and my arms. And I started using my ability to see things from a perspective down onto my amygdala and down onto my nervous system and my body, the more I kind of strengthened that part of my brain. Now, the important piece was also that I didn't have to get totally thrown away or drowned by the emotions, because one thing I experienced was that I had some emotions that had been unfelt, that I wasn't super familiar with, that I kind of pushed away in order to get by in life, that I hadn't felt. And for a while it was a bit scary to kind of access those emotions and feel those deeper parts of myself, but I didn't need to get stuck there. And that was the important piece that I was missing for a while, where I allowed myself to feel all my emotions and feel my guilt, feel my shame, feel my anger and totally blanked on the last one, feel my grief, sadness. And that was really good. That was really important for me. I also had to learn how to get myself out of those places. So the prefrontal cortex was then able to be like, okay, here I'm allowing myself to feel this emotion fully, let it process, and now I get to shift myself out of it. And all of this to say, that would have been much harder to do if I didn't have a regular exercise practice that really helped me keep my brain chemistry level and keep my my serotonin going, my dopamine, all these neurotransmitters that are super important for my mood. So it was important that I both learn to feel my emotions, right? And also I needed to have exercise as kind of a baseline for me to feel good most of the time, so that it would be easier for me to access those emotions that were maybe a little bit more hidden. And then also be able to pull myself out of those places, redirect my thoughts, redirect my beliefs, and change the deeper beliefs that were usually kind of connected to the deeper emotions through my prefrontal cortex. Now I understand that this might be a little bit complicated and nuanced and stuff like that. I'll do my best to make this more easy to understand in the future, but I hope that that gives you a tiny bit of insight into what the importance of having exercise as one of your practices as you do this usually inner work, and then also take care of your body, mind, and your body. Well, number 3 is one of my favorites, because exercise is one of the things that teaches you that you can do hard things and you can get through them, even as someone who struggles with depression or beliefs or negative thinking or fear. When you exercise and you do it in a way where you have autonomy, which is a really important part of this as well, because when you feel like you have a decision to put yourself through challenge, and then you overcome that challenge, that's a powerful combination where you both learn that you can choose the challenges that you have. You don't get to be pushed by other people or other people telling you what to do and you don't really want to do it, which a lot of people struggle with, having felt. You choose your challenge, and then you overcome that challenge, and then you teach your brain, okay, wow, I got overcome a really difficult thing. That means that I also can probably overcome difficult things other places in my life. I can have a difficult conversation. I can feel this emotion without getting totally drowned in it. I can stay with it without believing every single thought that comes up with the emotion, etc., etc. So this is a really important part, and often neglected part, I feel, because we just kind of separate exercise and training as this one section of our life, but then we forget that those what we experience in our practice also gets to come over into our daily life and other challenges that we experience at work, with our family, in our relationships, all these different things. This is really an important aspect of neuroplasticity too, the brain's ability to change itself over time, because when we do something that's challenging and we have autonomy in that challenge repeatedly, then our brains adapt to that challenge. Our brains will be like, oh, I've done this before, easy. I've done this multiple times before, even easier. And literally your body and your brain are becoming more complex to handle more complex challenges. And this is especially true if we are doing more kind of complex training, where we're, running is awesome, for example, but if we're also including mobility and strength training and different kind of more complicated movement patterns, that allows our brain to be like, oh wow, look at what I can adapt to here. If I can be this complicated in my movement here, that means that I can also handle complicated challenges elsewhere. So with this one, it's important to remember that every time you push through a hard set, every time you finish a run, every time you go for a walk, even though you didn't really want to, you wanted to stay on the couch, but you knew that you would feel better if you went on that walk, that is literally teaching your brain that you can do really hard things and you can get through them, you can survive them, and you can keep doing them. Just to finish everything that we've said here, I've mentioned these 3 important factors. Number 1, how it regulates your brain chemistry and increases really important neurotransmitters and increases BDNF, which is so important for your brain's development and strengthening connections between your neurons so you can create new connections and create new neurons and keep learning and growing. And the second one was how it can potentially really strengthen your prefrontal cortex and allow you to be more mindful and see things more from a perspective, and being mindful with what you're feeling inside of yourself as well, and your thoughts, your emotions, and also be able to then pull yourself out of those places by redirecting your thoughts or redirecting your attention to something that's more positive or more in alignment with where you want to go in your life. And number 3, I talked about how just basically doing something challenging over and over again, even if it's just going for a walk when you really don't really want to, you'd rather lay in bed, then that can be a way for your brain to be like, okay, I can trust that I can do more difficult things. I can trust that this habit that I have of exercising or training is actually going to help me feel better. And as you will discover, and you probably already have discovered from exercise, that you usually do feel better after you have completed the thing. Sorry if you hear my niece screaming in the background. She is playing in the pool. So if you've been wondering why and how exercise might really be supporting you from a very kind of basic practical perspective and also a neuroscience perspective, these are some really amazing reasons why. And I'm not even mentioning all the other physiological changes and benefits that happen even in your brain as well. But there is so much research that's coming out more and more and more about this that really shows that exercise can be an incredible addition to any type of treatment plan or any type of wellness routine that you have. So I'll stop this by saying that exercise really can be about strength and can be about weight loss, but it's so much more than that, like ridiculously so much more than just that. It can be one of the most important parts of your mental health, and that is something that I certainly discovered as I dropped out of my grad school 10 years ago, and I was on my way to becoming a counseling psychologist. Instead, I took a break from school. I just focused on my well-being. I started exercising regularly. I went to the gym almost every single day. I started running a lot, and I started noticing these incredible physiological changes in my brain almost immediately. And I knew that this was such an important part of mental health. I understood that therapy and talk therapy with stuff was really important as well, which is what I was on the way to help people with. But a deeper and more intuitive part of me knew that I needed to embody this part of myself that knew how much exercise would help improve my own mental health, my own connection to myself, my own nervous system, and then also help others to do the same. So I hope I've been able to convince you how important exercise might be for your mental health routine. Now let's talk about 2 very simple ways that you can get started. If you're at the point where you feel like the gym is too far away, it's too exhausting to even think about, you really just start where you are. Go for a 5-minute walk. Like, make it such a small goal that it would almost be silly that you couldn't be able to reach it. You walk around your house, you walk around your yard, you walk around the block, anything, and you try to practice doing it consistently. Do it once, maybe in the beginning, once every other day. Then start doing it every day. See then if you can start increasing it. See if you then want to increase it to run a little bit. See if you then want to increase it to run a little bit more. Then you want to see if you want to increase by going to the gym eventually, maybe getting a personal trainer that can help you learn about your body and how to move properly. And just slowly bring yourself up by building your confidence that you can do something, just even if it's just a little bit. and increasing it a little bit over time. But I don't want you to be stressing about what you're going to be doing a few months from now. I want you just to be focusing on what you can be doing today. That's it. Then take it day by day by day. Number 2 thing I want you to be doing is every time that you're able to do the practice that you've set yourself for, if you're doing a walk every single day or every other day, I want you to really pat yourself on the shoulder every time that you do it. That really tells your brain that this is something that I want to continue doing because I'm getting a reward for it. I'm telling myself that this is something that's important to me and I'm getting compliment from myself for doing it. So I really want you to try doing that and giving yourself some sort of reward that tells your brain that this is something that I need to continue doing. I believe that this will naturally start happening by itself because you will start noticing how much better your body and your brain feels after you move. But I want you to keep doing it. I want you to be consistent with it at least for a few weeks before giving up. But in the beginning, give yourself those pats on the back and then keep going and keep doing it, patterning your brain to realize that it wants to continue doing it and giving yourself that reward. So if this resonated, I'd love to hear from you in the comment section. I'd love to hear if any of this helped for you, if you have any inspirations or anything that you want to do going forward so you feel better in yourself and your body and your mind. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.